Have you ever wondered what truly transpired during one of the most significant battles in American history? The small town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, witnessed an extraordinary confrontation that changed the course of the Civil War. The Battle of Gettysburg. Triumph or tragedy? Prepare to be enthralled as we break down the drama, strategy, and sacrifice that defined this epic battle. We'll analyze every riveting moment, from the mysterious Devil's Den to the thunderous cannons of Pickett's charge. But first, subscribe to our channel for more exciting war news. Let's get started. The Battle of Gettysburg, which took place from July 1st to July 3rd, 1863, was a significant clash during the American Civil War. It went down about 35 miles, 56 kilometers, southwest of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And let me tell you, it was a massive blow for the Southern forces. This battle is often regarded as the decisive moment in the war, the turning point. In fact, it has received greater attention and dissection than any other battle in American history. People simply cannot get enough of studying and analyzing every detail of it. After dealing a blow to Union forces under General Joseph Hooker at Chancellorsville, Virginia, back in May, Confederate General Robert E. Lee had a brilliant idea: invade the North. His plan was twofold. Not only did he want to demoralize the enemy even further, but he also hoped that European countries would finally recognize the Confederacy. The Confederate soldiers were feeling pretty confident, while up north, some folks were starting to lose hope. Lee had quite the army too, with over 71,000 troops at his command. Can you believe it? He reorganized his forces into 3 corps, each led by a capable general: A.P. Hill, James Longstreet, and Richard S. Ewell, in anticipation of the invasion. Not to be overlooked is this cavalry under the command of General Jeb Stuart. This is where things start to get a little dicey. Stuart, being the brazen man he was, decided to lead his cavalry on a dangerous journey just before the month of June 1863 came to an end. On June 28, 1863, Confederate General Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia was deep in Pennsylvania, having successfully invaded the North. However, Lee had lost contact with his cavalry, which was essential for gathering intelligence about the enemy. Lee learned from a spy that George G. Meade had taken the place of Union General Joseph Hooker. Given that Meade was a new commander and Lee lacked any intelligence regarding him, this was a significant development. In light of this new information, Lee made the decision to alter his original plans. General Ewell, who was in charge of the Confederate Army's advance, was told to either go to Cashtown or Gettysburg. Cashtown served as a key strategic point from which Lee could defend or launch an attack. Lee also gave the orders for Generals Longstreet and Hill to move towards Cashtown in the east. In light of the Union Army's movements, this would put Lee's entire army in a strong position to defend or attack. Lee's strategic move worked out well. He was able to put his army in a commanding position so that it could react to anything the Union Army did. This gave Lee the power to control the outcome of the conflict, resulting in a Confederate victory at Gettysburg. On a bright June 29th morning, General George G. Meade wasted no time and led his troops northward. But he wasn't alone. General John Buford and his 2 cavalry brigades rode ahead, scouting the path for any signs of trouble. Meade had a clever plan in mind. He aimed to stay right between Lee's Confederate forces and the capital of the Union, making it darn near impossible for Lee to cross the Susquehanna River without a good old fight. And you know what? Meade wanted that fight sooner rather than later. So, on June 30th, Buford's cavalry clashed with a Confederate general from General Hill's corps, and they weren't about to back down. Buford quickly realized the immense strategic importance of Gettysburg as a crucial crossroads and decided to hold the town until reinforcements arrived. On July 1st, 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg began when Confederate forces under General Henry Heth encountered Union cavalry led by General John Buford near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Buford's men, armed with new Spencer repeating carbines, put up a fierce resistance, buying time for the arrival of Union infantry under General John Reynolds. Reynolds' 1st Corps counterattacked Heth's division, forcing them to retreat. However, Reynolds was killed in the fighting, becoming the highest-ranking Union officer to be killed in the war. The fighting continued throughout the day, with the Union forces eventually being forced to retreat to Cemetery Hill and Culp's Hill. By the end of the day, the Confederates had won a tactical victory, but they had also suffered heavy casualties. On June 2nd, the fighting resumed. The Confederates launched a series of attacks against the Union lines on Cemetery Ridge, but they were all repulsed. The most notable attack was led by General James Longstreet, who attempted to envelop the Union flank. However, the attack was poorly coordinated and was ultimately unsuccessful. On July 3, 1863, the third and final day of the Battle of Gettysburg, Confederate General Robert E. Lee launched a massive attack against the Union center on Cemetery Ridge. The attack, known as Pickett's Charge, was a failure. The Confederates were decimated by Union artillery fire and were unable to break through the Union lines. The attack began at 3 p.m. Confederate artillery opened fire on Union positions, and then 15,000 Confederate infantrymen emerged from the woods and marched across the open fields towards Cemetery Ridge. The Union soldiers waited until the Confederates were within range before opening fire. The Confederates were caught in a withering crossfire, and they were unable to advance. The Confederate attack reached its furthest point at the core of trees on Cemetery Ridge. However, the Confederates were unable to break through the Union lines, and they were forced to retreat. The attack was a failure, and the Confederates suffered heavy casualties. In addition to Pickett's charge, there were other attacks on July 3rd. Confederate General Ewell attempted to attack Culp's Hill, but he was unsuccessful. Confederate cavalry under General Stuart also attempted to attack the Union rear, but they were repulsed by Union cavalry. After the failure of Pickett's charge, the Battle of Gettysburg was effectively over. The Confederates retreated to Virginia, and the Union forces held the field. The Battle of Gettysburg was a turning point in the Civil War. It showed that the Confederacy was not invincible, and it boosted morale on the Union side. The losses suffered at Gettysburg were among the heaviest of the entire war. The Union Army suffered 23,049 casualties, including 3,155 killed, 14,529 wounded, and 5,365 captured or missing. The Confederate Army suffered 28,063 casualties, including 3,903 killed, 18,735 wounded, and 5,425 captured or missing. The total casualties for the battle were 51,112, making it the bloodiest single day in American history. The battle also led to a change in strategy for the Union Army. General Ulysses S. Grant was put in command of the Union forces, and he adopted a more aggressive strategy that eventually led to the defeat of the Confederacy. The Union was winning the war at the time of Battle of Gettysburg. They had already won several major victories, including the Battle of Antietam and the Battle of Vicksburg. The Battle of Gettysburg was a turning point in the war, as it showed that the Confederacy was not invincible. The legacy of the Battle of Gettysburg is complex and showed that the Confederacy was not invincible. However, it was also a very bloody battle, and it resulted in the deaths of many soldiers on both sides. The battle also had a significant impact on the American landscape, as it left behind a scarred battlefield that is now a national park. If you found this video informative and engaging, make sure to hit the subscribe button now. So, what other battles or historical events would you like to learn about? Leave your suggestions in the comments section, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos.